Evening class, welcome to Rest 11, Methods of Research. We are still here at Unit 2, and now we are here at Part 2, which is on your writing Chapter 1 of your proposal. We are done with your background of the study, so we go on to the next part. We will review the parts of Chapter 1 and go on with what and how we write the next part. So after the background of the study, which you now know needs to convince the reader why you need to do the study, we have the statement of the objectives. So this statement of the objectives is actually the heart of the research study, your roadmap or your GPS. So the SOP or the statement of objectives sets the direction of your research, a means to establish whether you are able to accomplish the output or the outcome of your research at the end of the study. And it also makes sure that you are on the right track. You are not putting anything that is not included in the actual research and states what you want to accomplish in your research. When you write your chapter 2, you always go back to these. When you write your chapter 3, you also go back to these. And same goes when you are writing your chapters 4 and 5. So this part, statement of the objectives, has two parts, the general and the specific objectives. So frequently asked question, is this the same as the statement of the problem? Usually, social researches uses SOP, statement of the problem, while experimental researches uses statement of the objectives. So these are the differences. If you see your SOO, and for experimental studies, it is in objective form or narrative format, declarative form. For statement of the problem, it is in question form, commonly used for your social researches. So now we go to how do we write this part. So in writing general objective or problem, first you need to know that your research title or research problem and your statement of the objective or statement of the problem are intertwined. So the general objective is usually the same as your title, but take note of the three parts. So you have T-POTS or TSAT, the verb and keywords or phrases. So T-POTS or TSAT is the first few phrases. So it is actually your, when you see here, generally, the purpose of the study is, or generally, this study aimed to. So next is the verb, or selecting the right verb is critical because it will tell what you will do. It implies your method. You want to identify, describe, or determine, or compare, evaluate, or determine itself. Next is the keyword or your phrases. So these are your variables. So your groups of people and the issues who is going to be researched on, what is going to be researched. So for example here, look at your title, the antibacterial property of pako, Diplasium esculentum, and kabuyaw, citrus hystrix, ethanolic extract against Pseudomonas aeruginosa and Klebsiella pneumoniae. So you will see here your teapots. Generally, this study aimed to, and then the verb, determine, and then the keywords or phrases are actually what you also see in your title. Determine the antibacterial property of pako and kabuyaw ethanolic extracts against Pseudomonas aeruginosa and Klebsiella pneumoniae. So that is one example. So next is writing your specific objectives. So normally you divide the general objective by topics or issues or groups of people for you to determine or answer your general objective. So you see here, it is For example, number one, determine the phytochemical components of pako and kabuyaw. Number two, determine the antibacterial effect of pako and kabuyaw. Number three, determine if there's a difference in the antibacterial effect between the concentrations of pako and kabuyaw. And fourth, determine if there's a difference in the antibacterial property between the various concentrations of pako and kabuyaw ethanolic extracts when compared to that of the positive control. So note that when writing your specific objectives, you see here the keyword specific. So it needs to be smart. It is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Frequently asked question is how do you write specific problems for social researches? Since my example a while back is for experimental research. So this is one example. This is from our recently concluded project with DOH. Knowledge and attitude of mothers on vaccination, its implication to the prevalence of non-fully immunized children. So again, for the general objective, you will see generally this study will, your teapots, determine your verb, and then your variables. Specifically, this study will attempt to answer the following questions. These are your sample specific problems. What is the prevalence of non-fully immunized children in different indigenous groups of Cagayan along? What is the profile of the mothers in terms of demographic, socioeconomic? So note that you will see for the specific problems, these are written in a smart way. So very specific, what prevalence are you looking for in terms of, so naka-name each of your vaccines na kailangan. And even with the profile, we just don't put demographic and socioeconomic itself. You put there what specifically for the demographic profile. So you have here age, educational attainment, indigenous group, religion, etc. So these are very important because these are the ones that you need to answer for your results and discussion. Also, this will be your guide for your tool. So your tool here, in terms of measurable, your tool needs to answer or indicate there. For example, demographic, you have the answers for age, you have the answers for educational attainment, etc. So next is still under that example, what is the level of knowledge of mothers on vaccination along? Then you have the you have the domains under that. So you just don't say what's the level of knowledge. That is too broad. So you put here what is the level of knowledge, and then you have your age, benefits, in terms of age, benefits, contraindications, management of contraindication, and health service provider. Fourth is what is the attitude of mothers towards vaccination. So this one does not need any domains actually because it's the attitude of mothers towards vaccination. So this could be made specific, more specific. What is the attitude of mothers towards childhood vaccination? Then questions 5, 6, and 7, this involves statistical analysis already for you to be able to answer your general objective and have discussions on that. So 5, you will see that it is to determine the relationship between the profile of the mothers with that of their knowledge and attitude. Is there a relationship between the prevalence of the non-fully immunized children with that of the mother's knowledge and attitude on vaccination? And third, is there an association between the knowledge of mothers on vaccination with that of their attitude? And so for your activity 2.2, which is still a group work, so remember that at this part of your course, your activities will be done by group. And now, considering you have your research problems, you need to formulate the research objectives of your paper. So this is very important. Ito yung unang titingnan pagdating sa inyong proposal defense. What are your objectives? So dapat yung i-check ito ng mabuti. Look at other theses done already or look at other journal articles. How did you formulate your research objectives? And although we are not still on the part of your methodology, You already know by now if it is measurable. You need to know if you can measure that, or you will be able to measure the objectives that you have. So, in summary, what we learned or we talked about, what is the statement of the objectives and how do we write these? So that's it for statement of the problem. Thanks for watching.